All right, everybody, welcome back to another video. It is Tuesday, and usually on Tuesdays we read stories of tzaddikim. Not really Breslov Tuesdays, more like Sundays are Breslov stuff. Like we read Siach Sarfei Kodesh on Sundays, as you know if you've been watching any of the videos. Today, as I was getting ready to make this video today, I came across, they just put out a new pamphlet of from Siach Sarfei Kodesh, which is the sefer we read on Sunday. They put out Sichus v'Sipurim about the passing away of Rav Noson of Breslov, whose yahrzeit is actually on Asar B'Teves, the fast day, which is falling out this year on Friday. And he actually was niftar in the same type of year where Asar B'Teves fell out on a Friday, so it exactly really matches up. And this is a pretty long thing, so it's going to be a pretty long video, and we're just going to read and we're going to see what the story of Rav Noson's passing is, different inyanim that we may not know about. So if I don't look at the camera, it's because I'm looking at my computer screen and looking at this PDF, which I will link in the description of the video, and you can read along and you can see. So this is just gathered from different parts of Siach Sarfei Kodesh, and there's a letter in here, and we'll see how long we can go. If we have to do it in two parts, maybe we'll do it in two parts. Anyway, let's see. So it says, Omar HaMesader. The Mesader is the person who puts this together. It says in the footnote as Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner. It says from the word Gam, and also the inyan of Cholamoid, Kosov Moiri v'Rebbe Bala Mechaber Azeh Shnei Yamim Koidim Histalkusei. I think he's talking about that Rav Noson wrote certain parts of Likutei Halachos 2 days before he died, when he was very weak. Even though he was very weak, he strengthened himself and he got enough koyach to write what he was able to write. And we saw that his brain and his mind was still very attached to, spiritual things until the last second before he died. When he died on Friday, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Vayigash, which is this week. Asar B'Teves, Shnas Tov Reish He Leprat Katan. And we saw in our eyes how he was Mekayim, what Chazal said in the Gemara Brachos, Zois HaTorah Adam Kiyomas. This is the Torah the person should die with. Shechayav Adam Lasik B'Torah Ad Yoim Moisoi. That person is chayav to be oisik in Torah until the day that he dies. Ki oid ma'at b'rega achreina shel zugusei shaman menu chidushay Torah. Until the last second that he died, we were hearing from chidushay Torah. But he was not able to write any of it down because he didn't have koyach. And to speak it all out clearly, he wasn't able to either because he was about to die. But he still spoke in Torah. And he said, when we came in with the Neirus, right, for Shabbos Lecht, right, and when Rav Noson saw them, he was Nislaiv Ma'oid. And it says, Umigoidel Hislavusai, he sat himself up on his bed, he was sitting up a little bit, and he was saying, Beislavus Naira, he was saying, Neirishal Shabbos, the lights of Shabbos, the lights of Shabbos. He was saying this with Hislavus many times. And then he revealed to us a very wondrous Torah about the Neiros to Kedusha. And V'chola Kulam, and he explained in all these Neiros of the holy lights, also the Ner of Shabbos, and Ner of Yom Tov, and Neiros of Chanukah, right after Chanukah also. V'achach al maraz, I have now Tilei Tilin Shalachas. Yeshi Ata B'zeh, in regarding the lights, I have Tilei Tilin Halachas. Many thousands of halachos, but I don't have basically thousands, like a lot. But I don't have koyach to speak more. And a little bit later on, about an hour later, he died. Okay, now they're going to go into it a little more, right? They're going to speak about the whole thing. That was just like the introduction. Ma noimar, ma nedaber olanu al shivenu nachlo mechasenu, avol zois nechasenu vashem matuvenu. Okay, that was the end. That's from Likutei Halachos. I guess they added that part in. Okay, fine. Now let's keep on going. First few pieces over here are a little bit like out of order, but let's see what he says over here. And at the time that he spoke about this, we did not understand fully the tachlis that he was being mechavin for, right? until after that we saw that he died on this day itself. And then we understood the Mafreya about his Kavanas HaKadoshim, about what he was talking about, I guess the lights and stuff like that. Because right after he died, right, his chilu, his spashet, his gaber, hagzera, shalimud, nari, Yisrael, ksav, nusham, b'bati, sefrem, shem, shkolus. I think Rav Noson was talking about also in this Torah, in this Likutei Halachos that he gave over last, he was talking about how they're going to start teaching the kids different, non-Jewish subjects in schools and different things like that. And we saw that right after he died, they started bringing it more into the schools. And they also put a tax on the Jews to pay so that they could light candles for Shabbos. I did not know that. That's pretty crazy. And he also spoke about this on the day that he died. And he also hinted to this. Kute Kama. It's also hinted here in the Kut, and also this is the first time I'm reading this, so I'm just going through it. In the Kute Halachos, Gama Gzera Shel Shinoi Hamalbushim. Also the Gzera of changing the clothing. I get to dress more like non-Jews. A lot of things. And the great storm of apicorsis was growing and growing and growing. We can't even explain it. But Rav Noson was speaking about all these things. But this is our nechama in these inyanim, because we saw Niskayim Roish Devar that his words were being Niskayim. Vevade Be'ezer Hashem Niskayim Kol Devar Hakadoshim. Shasvar Hakadoshim Abinuyim Yisudim Al Yisoid Emunas Cham B'Shleimus. I guess the Rav Noson was saying that at the end it's going to be all good. So they're saying whatever he said happened, but it's also going to change because at the end the kedusha will take over. And then everything will help us and everything will be good. Okay, fine. Let's keep on going a little more. It's just going through a little bit of inyanim from different svarim, from Beryl, Likutim, from Likutei Halachos, different things like that, until it gets to different things over here, until it gets like Siach Sarfi Kodesh, really. Okay, let's see what he says. Also afterwards, when the days of Rav Noson finished, he died. V'hasagas haTorah zois Likutei Kama Siman Samach Aleph, Torah 61. And he also commanded us to be very careful with the mitzvah of printing and writing the books of Rabbi Nachman, right? Like it says in Koheles, Asoy Svarim Harbe Ein Kate, to make a lot of Svarim to no end, right? So that's what he also told us about. And also continues on, it says, Kigami calls that Tav Mirachok Shel Oidesh Asher Belel Shabbos Shem Gemar Chanukah. And also all this makes sense from now what happened on Leil Shabbos of Leil Shabbos when Chanukah finished, which was this past Shabbos. Friday night was right after Chanukah finished. And this was the last Shabbos of his life, right? And what was he doing? Rav Noson was being Isaac in the tefillas of Yom HaKippur, Shu Bepulas Slachna HaShayach Hazeh. Okay, he was talking about the tefillas of Yom Kippur. Achach Nigash V'Nisala B'Yom Vav Parshas V'Yigash, and then afterwards he died on Friday, Parshas V'Yigash. And his neshama went out B'Chanun HaMarbe L'Sleach Shemispar Shmoi HaKadosh. Ki Atevos, because the words Chanun HaMarbe L'Sleach Oiles K'Mishbar is in the same gematria as the word Noson. Whoa, so that's also pretty cool. Because he was saying at the end Chanun HaMarbe L'Sleach, which is also has to do with the Indian of Yom Kippur, obviously, because you're being forgiven. It says over here, that we also saw that at the time that his neshama was going out, until his last breath, he kept on saying the words Chanun Hamar B'Lesleach, right, many times. And I heard from my father, Hareini Kaparos Mishkavoy, Mishar, and from other person that were standing there, that even though he said other words, I will ikram mirasai loy hoya rak zois. was only this. He was saying these words many times. V'hamagid mireshis achris sivev gamilov kriyas Hashem psoyes niskoves vatzumes. What? I don't know what that means. I don't know what's going on over here. Basically, he was saying how the kriyas that this thing of Chanur Hamar B'Lasleach was mechuven mamish because it was gematria Noson. Okay, now let's go a little bit further in. Now they're going to go a little bit more into things that maybe we could understand, more stories. Koidim Mistachlusoi. Before Rav Noson died, he said to the Chassidim about the machlokes that was on him. Right? He says, "From you nisharu bakbuke yain saraf. For you, they're gonna drink l'chaim on your day that you die. But from me, umimani nisharu svarim harbe mekarvim shenasu liyehudim al yadi. But I will leave behind many svarim that brought over a lot of people." Right? Okay. And the last Shabbos before Rav Noson died, by the third meal, right, he was very hard for him to say Torah, right, because he was sick. But at the end, Hashem helped him, and he said, right, that's the last halacha that he said. That's what we're talking about before, the halacha, which was he says the Likutei halachas, which is based on the Likutei Moran Torah 61, which is called Chadi Rabbi Shimon, which is supposed to be a very deep Torah, right? And it was talking about, and that Torah speaks a lot about the inyan of believing in tzaddikim and emunas chacham, right? And then afterwards, the kahal started davening Ma'ariv, and the sickness, his sickness grew on him a lot. Like it became very strong, and he became very weak, right? He wasn't able to continue and even daven, right? He left the shul after Baruch Hu. He went back to his house to daven there by himself. And when he came to the door, one of the Chassidim passed by, and his name was Rabbi Yaakov. And Rav Noson said to him, Yankel, says, Ayah got firt ois. He said, Yaakov, is it true that Hashem is going to be goymer b'natzech? Hashem is going to win at the end? Kilu. And his kavanah was that even in this toikif that he was so weak, Hashem helped him. And he was able to grab on a little bit and chop a little bit and say a little Torah before the Chassidim and that. So Hashem always wins, the Torah always wins. Motzei Shabbos Parshas Miketz, which was the last Motzei Shabbos of life, which was of his life, which we just spoke about. It just keeps on going. Rav Noson cried a lot at the time of Havdalah, which is told over in the Michtav of his Istachos, the letter about how he died, which we're going to see later on. And he kept on saying the words V'lo Yefchad many times, like he will not fear. Wow. Before he died, Rav Noson saw in his dream Rabbi Nachman, who was holding his hand. He was holding in his hand the Sefer HaNisraf, the burnt book. Right? So Rav Noson saw in his dream Rabbi Nachman holding the burnt book in his hand. And Rav Noson asked from Rabbi Nachman that he should learn with him this book, this holy Sefer. And Rabbeinu said to him, right? He said, for this, you already have to come to me. Like for something so big, for this Sefer, you have to come to me in Shemayim, right? You have to die. And when Rav Noson told this before the Chassidim, he said, even though I was very scared of this dream, mikol makom, right? He said I was scared, but I remembered that one time Rabbi Nachman said to me, you shouldn't be scared, Hashem is with you. Therefore I had a lot of chizuk and I was not scared anymore from this dream. They didn't know really what it meant, if he was supposed to die or not, but yeah. But he wasn't scared anymore. He was always being mischazik, Rav Noson. So on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, before he died, when in the early morning, Erev Shabbos Parshas Vayigash, Asar B'Teves, Rav Noson asked to read in front of him the first two stories in the Sefer Tzipori Maisius, which are the Lost Princess, Avelis Bas Melech, and the second one is the what's the second one? Second one is the guy who's the Ben Melech and the Ben Kesar, whatever. They meet and they want to get the Bas Melech and the Ben Kesar. They want to the other way around. I always forget. I'm actually reading the story now. I forgot what it's called though. That's pretty dumb, but yeah, it's a very deep story. And when they got to the finishing of the second story, about the Ben Melech, right? The Ben Melech Nelcha v'Nisel Libatenu. Right? She said, "Let's go to our house," because they got married. V'shavu Lebesam, and they went back to their house. Tziva sheyachzru oid v'oid ala tevas halalu. He also said that they should say these words a lot. So he was saying a lot of different words over and over again. V'achach b'samuch niftar lebesalam, and then right afterwards, soon, close to that, after they finished reading the stories, he died. When Rav Noson was alive, Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner Rav Nachman Tulchiner was known to come to him every second Shabbos. Right? One Shabbos he would stay in his house, and the second Shabbos he would be by Rav Noson. And this Shabbos, that the last Shabbos of his life, right? Rabbi Nachman Lefi Seder Min Hago Elisha is Bebesi B'Tulchin, right? Rav Nachman was supposed to be in his house and not by Rav Noson, right? But in the middle of the week, he came to him. One of the Chassidim came to him and he let him know that Rav Noson is very sick. Right? How are you going to stay in Tulchin for Shabbos? You have to go. And he was very nesayer, and he went right away to Rabbi Yitzchak, who was the son of Rav Noson, Shadar Afu B'Tulchin, and we know that Rabbi Yitzchak also son lived there. And he said to him, you should go to your father right now, and I'm going to come after you. And Rabbi Yitzchak went right away, and Rav Nachman Tulchiner came a little bit right before Shabbos, and he took care of Rav Noson on the day that he died, which was on Erev Shabbos, like we've been saying the whole entire time. And he asked Rav Noson what's going to be after he died. Right, who's going to be the manik? This is important. Sorry, am I really close to the camera? And what did he say? What? I don't know what he says. V'heshiv zeh hadoichef achutza es deloi hamayim sheli yuchal gamkin lehanhig hala kifi shenehakti ani. What does that mean? That Rav Noson said, they asked him who's going to be the manig, and he said, hold on one second, where did I just go? Oh, he said the person who's outside who pushes who pushes my buckets of water, I guess like the regular worker or anybody, whatever. He says he could also, be the leader of you guys. What does that mean? Kivim bezal Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner shayatzu k'may mishamish pashut. And he was mechaven bezeh that Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner should be who was like a mishamish pashut. He should be the guy that kind of like takes over ish. And it says over here in a footnote, Yud Beis Yud Gimel. It says in Sichos V'Sipurim, Siman Mem Daled, that Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner said before. Asher Marlov, right? Rav Noson said before Rav Aaron ben Rabbi Avram Chaim Meuman, says, I already prepared everything with the pen. V'achachach yuchal gam Rabbi Nachman Tulchiner to lahanigas al galgal, like to take care of everything. So I think that's what he's saying. That he said, like, I already prepared everything. There doesn't really need to be another manik, but anybody could basically be the manik. Okay, on the day that he died, Rav Noson groaned, and he was groaning a lot. He was sighing. Afterwards, he said to the Anash, a lot of Yiddish over here. He says, what are you thinking that I'm groaning about? on that I just read this over in Sunday's video, that I, what's it called, that I didn't learn enough Torah and I didn't daven enough. No, I did that. I watched all the time. I was watching my time. I did everything. But how do I know that I fulfilled the thing that Rabbi Nachman taught us to be simple? I don't know if I did that. That's why he was groaning a lot. Because the main thing is simplicity. Okay. Rav Noson passed away as it is known in the city of Breslov on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Yom Asar B'Teves, and he was brought to Kfura on Motzei Shabbos, right? And even though they could have made the Kfura if they hurried up a little bit before Shabbos, right? And even though it was, and also in Rav Noson's house, they were annoying to do like the same way that Rabbi Nachman did, to light candles 2 hours before Shabbos started. Right? And they still had time a little bit. But but the reason why they didn't do this is because the Chassidim one time heard from Rav Noson, Yishav Adas b'zeh ha'olam afilu be'esh adam kfar niftar mikol makom he'esh adayin le'nipar v'gunim tzadayin kan as a Yishav Adat go to Yosef Masher Achar Kfura. Right, so that the Yishav Adas in this world, even after a person is dead, mikol makom, even so he'esh adayin lo nikbar v'gunim tzadayin kan, even though and all the time that he's not buried and he's still here, as Yishav died to Gadol Yosef Masher, then his mind is still at ease until more than it would be after he was buried. So therefore, they didn't hurry up to bury him, right? Because they wanted him to be Yishav Adas. Done. It also says over here in a footnote that even though, like they say, that there might be punishment if you don't bury on the same day, but it says it's also brought somewhere that by tzaddikim there's no punishment of chibut hakever even if they weren't buried on the same day. So they waited a little bit. They weren't so mizdaris, but that's okay. So that Shabbos. Oh, sorry. Okay. So in that Shabbos after he died, the Anash daven Kabbalah Shabbos in the shul, which is next to Rav Noson's house. In the room where Rav Noson was. I'm not sure where they put him after he died. And Rabbi Aaron Harav Mibreslov Kibul Shabbos Gam Hu Imayim, and Rav Aaron, or the Rav Mibreslov, also was in the Kabbalah Shabbos with them. And then Rav Aaron said to the Chassidim, we all know this. Hainu Gam Shar Tamid Rabbeinu Shebeit Shalom Rabbeinu, that Rabbeinu said as a pasuk V'Yeshua Benun Mali Ruach Chachma Ki Samach Moshe Es Yoda Olav, right? That Moshe, passed on, put his hands on Yeshua. Niskavim Bezeh al Marnat. What? He was miskavin on this on Rav Noson. That what? Right, that also Rabbeinu put his hands on Rav Noson, that you should pass over whatever he has. Amar Oid, who is Skar Vachri Kulanu, Etzich Vas Toyvesim Kulanu. Right, and he became close to Rabbi Nachman after all of us, but he actually did more than all of us, because I think that Rav Noson came after Rav Aaron of Breslov, right? He says Rav Noson, it says over here in the footnote that Rav Noson became close to Rabbi Nachman right after Rabbi Nachman entered the city of Breslov, b'chodesh El Taf Kuf Samach Beis. And there was many of the students ready came with Rabbi Nachman. There was a lot of people who were already his students from when Rabbi Nachman lived in Medvedevka and Zlatopolia. So that's what Rabbi Aaron was referring to. Oh, it's a long video, man. Okay, and we're still not even halfway through, but we're going to keep on going. Our master, Rav Naftali, who was living in Uman, he didn't know at all about the sickness that Rav Noson was having. He saw Rav Noson in a dream that Friday night after Rav Noson died. He saw how Rav Noson was running. And he said, "Where are you running to?" And Rav Noson said, "Ich gleich zum Rebbe." I'm running to the Rebbe. I'm going straight to Rabbi Nachman. V'dog mizeh ma'od Rabbi Naftali, and Rabbi Naftali was very worried about this because he understood that they were already talking, and that it was in his dream it was Hirames that Rav Noson had died. And one time it says that Rav Avram Bar Nachman was talking about this dream that Rav Naftali had, where he saw Rav Noson running, right? So, and we see from this that how Eich shezacha Rav Noson lizdari love el Rabbeinu HaKadosh oid lifnei hakfura. Because that even before Rav Noson actually was buried, he was already running to Rabbi Nachman in Shemayim. Because we know that the kfura didn't happen until Motzei Shabbos, and he had this dream on Friday night. So that's also pretty crazy. And also, Rav Avram Bar Nachman used to say that, that right when Rav Noson became close to Rabbi Nachman, he was always in the bechin of Yashar el Rabbeinu. He's always going straight to Rabbi Nachman, right? He only did stuff that he got from Rabbi Nachman, right? Everything was Rabbi Nachman, his whole das, everything, right? So also there, in the Alma Dikshoit, he was zeichet to go straight to Rabbi Nachman. Okay, let's chav. Okay, let's keep on going. After Shabbos, when it was made known to Rav Naftali and to the other Breslov Chassidim that were in Uman about Rav Noson's death, Nana Rav Naftali answered and said, already on Motzei Rosh Hashanah, I already knew from the way that he was dancing that he was gonna already leave us, right? And it wasn't that he was dancing weekly; he was dancing in an extremely holy way. So he already knew that he was gonna be gone. During the levaya of Rav Noson, also Harav Rabbi Aaron of Breslov came to be milave him, of course. And also Rabbi Meir Leib Blecher, who was one of the Gedolim and a Talmud Chaver of Rav Noson, Shivchei b'Shivchei Zeh. He said that this was a true Jew. This is how a true Jew is supposed to be, right? What does Chaf Beis say? Tell over here in a footnote that some people say that Rav Aaron of Breslov was too weak to go to the funeral, and he wanted that they should pass the mita, the body, in front of his house. He said that this sipor is not true at all. Oh, that they said, right? So it says, right, so that's from Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender, right? What's Chav Gimel? Right, they didn't do any hispedim, except rather all the chassidim just said really good things about him. Wow. Okay, that's also from Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender. Okay, fine. What does that mean? Rav Avram Bar Nachman, right, who was a Talmud of this guy Rabbi Meir Leib Blecher, who also learned with Rav Noson. And this is one of the greatest praises that you could say on a Jew. That he's a true Jew. That he had mamish truth every single nekuda he had. When they came from the Kfuras of Rav Noson, the sky cleared up. I guess it was cloudy, and they were then able to be Mikadish the Levana, Kadin. And this was a very wondrous thing because many of the days of the Chayrif and over there in Ukraine, where the sky was covered always with clouds, with very thick clouds. Right? And now it cleared up completely, and you're able to see it. And the Anash hinted about this, that this is the bechinas of what Chazal say, Pnei Yeshua ke Pnei Levana. Right? That Rav Noson was the concept of Yeshua. He was a student of Rabbi Nachman, right? Because he was zoichet to be a student of Rabbeinu Zal, right? Just like Yeshua ben Nun was koilel in his master, who was Moshe Rabbeinu. So that the Pnei Yeshua, the Pnei of Rav Noson is like the Pnei of the Levana, so therefore the Levana showed and all that, cool stuff, man. Basically. Wow, this video is 31 minutes in. I don't think I ever did such a long video. Alright, Harav Rav Aaron, Talmud Rabbeinu, Harav of Breslov, Shtadol Bachar, Shtei Chelkus, Kever, Tzmudos, Be'emtza, Beis Chaim, Shavir Breslov. Rav Aaron of Breslov chose two halakim in the cemetery, two places to put the kvarim in the middle of the cemetery in the city of Breslov, right? One was for him and one was for Rav Noson, right? So that they should both be buried next to each other. Rav Noson ben Rav Yehuda, Talmud Rav Noson, Midolei Anshe Shmenu, one time heard from Rav Noson who says, when they pass a niftar over my kever, next to my kever, it will be very good for that niftar. And since each word was very precious that he heard from Rav Noson, Al Ken Hevi Midayt Rav Noson, he is covered dafka b'tchilas Beis Chaim. He understood that Rav Noson wanted to be buried right at the beginning of the cemetery, not in the middle. Then if he was buried at the beginning, then everybody would be able to pass by his kever. Right? So what happened? So this is how it's going to talk about his burial. So, and Rav Noson died Erev Shabbos, and the kfur was on Moed Shabbos. And because Rav Noson and because Rabbi Noson ben Rav Yehuda knew that Rav Aaron was mishtadel, and he bought these two spots in the cemetery, Alkin Azar Kigever Chalotz of his daughters Bizman Moed Shabbos, take it from Yad Ach Abdallah Yachad Imanshe Achever Kadisha V'Ochel Ever Beis Chaim. He went with them to the thing, and he said, "No, not those places. He is right here at the beginning of the cemetery. This is where I want this is where I want the kever of Rav Noson to be." So therefore, they dug a kever. Sham Tamnu Esmarnat. And Rav Aaron of Breslov was very makbid on this, and he says, I will not forgive you in this world, not in the next world. He says he took from me a very good friend because he wanted to be buried next to him. But since Rabbi Noson be Rabbi Yehuda was like, every word that Rav Noson was like precious to him, he didn't really care what the Rav Aaron of Breslov said. He was like, Rav Noson said he wants to be buried at the beginning of the cemetery, so yalla. And if you go to the cemetery in Breslov is like on a huge hill. You have to go up all these things. Rav Noson is pretty much at the beginning. It's pretty true. And many years after this, on Yud Beis Adar, Taf Reish Chavches, when the son of Rav Aaron of Breslov passed away, Harav Rabbi Hirsch Leib, Harav de Breslov, Tamunu al Yad Aviv, Harav Rabbi Aaron, they buried him next to his father Rabbi Aaron, Bechelkas Akevar Nal Sheikhan Aviv Avmor Rav Noson. Right, so Rav Aaron had already died, and they buried him in that spot where he wanted to be buried next to Rav Noson. But since they buried Rav Noson somewhere else, so now there was this open spot next to him, so they buried his son there. Okay, we're almost there, guys. At the beginning, the Breslov Chassidim left like an open space around the kever of Rav Noson, so that they should be able to stand there right? So that they should stand there and they could daven by his kever, right? And also they wanted to, and also it's good that he's buried there is that they didn't have to go through other kfarim to get there. Maybe step on other kfarim, chas v'shalom. But however, right, that's true. So first, Rav Noson was buried in his own little space. But then, in the year Tov Reish Ayin Gimel, Tamnu Sham Ben Hatzad Ha'echad as Rabbi David B'Tzvi ben Rabbi Shachan ben Mornat. They buried next to Rav Noson, Rabbi David Tzvi, the son of Rabbi Shachna, the son of Rav Noson. What's the Ma'aseh Shahaya? Chav Ches. Rei HaMaris is Be'echad Rav David Tzvi L'Halon Simin Tov Reish Mem. I don't know what that is. Okay. On the Tzion HaKadosh of Rav Noson, there was not engraved any word. Rak Yihatzku Yitzikas cement kitana v'agula kin kador lo'ise l'tzion. They made like a little ball of cement that for like the tzion to see with it, and nothing else. Now it's like all white and like a little thing. Yeah, I think that's what it means. And there was 4 pillars next to it, and that's how they knew that this was Rav Noson's things. Okay, fine. Now there's like a whole house and a whole little thing they built over it, but yeah, it's cool. Okay, now we came up to this Michtav HaHistaklos. So let's see. This letter was written, the Anshe Shemenu of Breslov, the Chassidim of Breslov, to the Anshe Shemenu Shebir Shirin, in telling over the story of how Rav Noson died, Tzadik Yisoid Olam, Rabbeinu Rav Noson. He died on Yom Shishi, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Shabbat Teva. It's fine. It says this letter is dated Sunday, Parshas Boy, Tov Reish Hey, so a few months after. Mishamar Laimo died. I'm not going to translate the whole thing. Rav Avram Doiv. Basically, it's addressing to all the Anshe Shemenu there, right? Right, he says that Rav Noson was taken from us from our many sins and all these things, right? 1 hour before Shabbos. Right, and the Chalishus already started on Motzei Shabbos Kodesh Miketz. When Shabbos Chanukah Kodim Shnichsas, when he came into Shal Shidus, Loimar Torah Zel Yahas Chalos HaTorah Afal Pish Zeh Cherpa Loimar Ki Kol Bal Darshan Omer Zeh Af Pikein Tzarech Loimar. And Rasan said in this thing, I'm not sure. Shetedu sheyagia zman lius meis v'goisis v'yemuchach lishkav al grayim el adelas. And he said this with great fear. Okay, I'm not sure what that part means, but then he said he was talking about something to do with death. Let me see what Vav is. Okay. He said this with great fear, and afterwards he said the Torah of Shimon. We already knew all this. We already said all this, but this is what's in the letter, so we're just going to read it, which talks about the Indian of the Eitzes and Emunas Chachamim, and also the Indian of printing books, and also of the Indian of the neshama that goes up in Shemayim. Okay. Then he was very besimcha. Right? B'Shabbos achar Chanukah hoye gam kein orchim b'leil Shabbos Parshas Miketz Amar Torah al Menorah. What? I thought that. Oh, he's saying Shabbos Chanukah. That was that Shabbos. Like Parshas Miketz Dalet Tevis, which was that Shabbos. Okay, so you're saying. Sorry, okay, hold on 1 second. Shabbos Chanukah, he said that, right? That's what he said. Right, Shabbos Chanukah before, I thought he was talking about that. Okay, so that's when he said that first Torah. And then was the week of Chanukah, and then it was Zois Chanukah, and then Parshas Miketz, which was this past Shabbos, like that Shabbos. Then there was also guests, and on Friday night of Parshas Miketz, he said a Torah on the menorah, and he danced. And after he went and afterwards he's told over the inyan of the avodah of Yom Kippur, like we mentioned before. He was saying stuff about Yom Kippur. He was saying over the avodah of the Kohen Gadol, like he goes inside the Beis Hamikdash. He said, Amad b'makom shamai nichnas b'makom shnichnas v'rei lifnei miyat nichnas achas v'achas, right, all that. V'atam chacham gadol mi Kohen Gadol k'may shikosav yikar hi mipninim, and a Talmid Chacham is greater than a Kohen Gadol. Which one is that? That was the dream that he saw Rabbeinu in. Okay, fine. That he was holding the Sefer Nisraf and Rabbeinu told him to come to him. And on Motzei Shabbos Parshas Miketz, he came into Shal Shudas and he said a Torah on Parshas Miketz. And at the end of the Torah, he said the parish of the Mishnah, Avos Aseh Lecha Rav Ukenei Lecha Chaver, right? Amar Kach Aseh Lecha Rav. If Ein Ata Yedei Mi Rav, and if you don't know who the Rav is, Ukenei Lecha Chaver parish Tischaber Es Atzmecha Lehakulmus. Attach yourself to the pen and write out stuff. I think that's what he's saying, right? Yod Aleph. Yeah. Idea Svarim, through the Svarim, that you'll be able to find the right Rabbi. So there's talking about Rabbi Nachman's farm, of course, but yeah. Omer Bezel Lashon, fine. V'achach Omer Abdallah b'Bechir Yidallah, we said before. V'em Talayla Nechash Ad Moed. Middle of the night became very sick, and every single day of the week his sickness got worse. And on Monday of that week, before he died, Rabbi Zev Lubarsky came to him, and he spoke to him about the inyan of Uman, of the Rosh Hashanah of Rabbi Nachman. And he told him, and he warned him that he should always go to Uman Rosh Hashanah. And on Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning, on Tuesday night, after Edan Maariv, we stood in front of him. V'gam Rabbi Zev Hanal Baal Gam came, and he also stood on the side. And also Rav David of Tulchin was also standing next to Rabbi Zev, and also Rav Noson said to Rabbi David, don't block Rabbi Zev, right? Let me at least be able to see him. Gam Rabbeinu Amar Pam Le'achad Habeit Elai Yil Chazos Tov. Look at me. So he said it's good to see the tzaddik, and it's good for the tzaddik to see the guy. And also he says V'kach Amar Niyeh Chayavim Le'Svaid. What does that mean? This is all in Yiddish, so I'm trying to get the Hebrew translations. Eile Rabbi Zev Heichon Yishlav Marnat Ba'Olam Haba. Says you all have to be together. He said where? He said in Olam Haba. Achach Sipur Maisa Noirem Sefer Nisraf. Afterwards, he told over a big story from the Sefer Nisraf. Be'ez Shahaya Rabbeinu Belemberg Shekishakasav Zeh Shefer B'Shol Shoyz Umechza. What's the story? Tez Zayin. Oh, he thought that the kavanah here is that he didn't say over any actual story. He was telling them how the book was written. I think that he wrote this sefer in 3.5 hours. It's like I left like the Idra, like when the Zohar, when they would sit in the Idra and learn the Zohar, like that's when I felt after I wrote this book. And this is great help from heaven that I was able to tell you the story. And that night he said Chatzois, and after Chatzois, about 3 hours before daybreak, he grabbed a pen, a kulmus, and he wrote the Torah on the Mishnah Moed Katan, like we said before, about the inyan of Chol Hamoed. That's how we started off. So the whole video makes sense. V'achach ba'olav Rab Meir Yehuda, and Rav Noson said to him, he says, even if somebody is a very bad balavera guru, the worst person in the world, the ikar is to be machzik himself with Rabbi Nachman as a bivada yilai tikkun. And then you'll have a big tikkun if you stay with Rabbeinu Zal. On Wednesday, we stood in front of him, And he says the ikar esek shalachem yilahat v'sfarim. The ikar thing that you should be doing now is to print books. Yefutzu ma'inasecha chutza v'dibor me'inyan ayin beis nimin. 72 strings on an instrument, I guess. Lekute Tinyana Siman Ches. And Wednesday night, Thursday morning, before the morning, Boilav Rab Meir Yehuda and also Rabbi Leipzig, Amar Hamalach Duma. Oops, I don't have to say that word. Boy Tel Adam, Mevake Krese, Mapila Alpanav. He breaks open his stomach and all these things. And he said, Oy befrat kishiyesh refuis babeten ze eish lahava. It's like fire. This crazy stuff. He said, Rabbeinu Ivadi Yitakana Kol Malapanav. Rabbeinu will be mitakin everything. Baboiker hechlish moed b'shas tefillah. In the morning, on Thursday morning, became very weak. Boilav atzadekis moras odol tichya. Rabbi Nachman's daughter. Bas Rabbeinu. Amra lama tachrishu halay tzarach laharbes bibechia. You have to cry more. Don't be silent. And Rav Noson was not masking this. Amra sheish lo yisoinim yidom. He has big haters, right? Rak limen yisonu eich l'spala ba'avurei. But he taught us how to daven for him. Sheinu b'spoid d'sheimotzi lo yischus eichu kasav divrei Rabbeinu zal. V'sider Oisam v'hider oisam gam ato roitz l'hatfis chol chayechem tolubi. Your whole life is dependent on me. This is all like pretty confusing stuff, but I hope people understand what I'm saying over here. Vegam Rav Tzvi miteplik boila v'shol esay imkvar kiva mois me'adon. He asked him if you got money from his adon. Normally tainli amoy shalcha anishmercha mois ad oilam haba. And I'm not saying give me the money, I'll wash your money until oilam haba. Amar avoisai gonzu matav ani egnoz lamala. Tilil harbes tilim k'meshemar. They start saying Tehillim. And on Friday morning, we read in front of him the two Mises of Rabbi Nachman, Maisa Aleph and Beis. He wanted to wash himself, like a small bath. He was talking about, and then while they were getting the bath ready, they were talking about Diber Harbe Kimat Kitzavalekach. You have to hold yourselves together with great love, and you are great men. El Sha'atem Shlomazlik. That's what Rabbeinu said too. You have to stay together. That's what he says. And he says like somebody who has a great treasure but doesn't watch it is like a Shlomazlik. So Rav Noson was saying that we have this great treasure who is Rabbi Nachman and his Torahs, and we have to watch them. And then right afterwards, he said to the Olam, Shloishet Tzaras Hay B'Tevis, there were 3 Tzaras in Tevis. Ma'ot Tzaras V'kulam Lo Zachru, nobody remembered. Amruhu Ba'atzmaim. Boy Meis Ezra Sefer, V'nichtov Atari Yavanis, V'samach Melech Bava Al Yerushalayim. Amr B'Zel Lashon, right, he said in Yiddish. He says, Nu Kishe Ezra Sefer Mistalik Utreif Pasel Misgarber Kol Chacharbe. Right? Is treif puzzle. It's talking about bad people, I guess, bad things who are doing bad things to the Jews. Right? Today we have a lot. But Rav Noson continues, said, I hope that one page of Sifrei of Rabbi Nachman yeh tikkun al kol. Nu ani mazer eschem she'eskechem yeh lahatvis esfarim. I warn you that your whole asik should be to be matvis esfarim. She'eskayim yefutzu ma'asecha chutzu she'tiyah zachem b'zeh b'mamon u'b'ratzon u'b'tercha. You should do it willingly, b'tercha on money. He said to his son Rabbi Yitzchak, Ata gam kein tzarech litin chamesh me'ez rubel kesef. That you have to give 500 rubles on this. Yom lav tim shishim rubel kesef. Not then at least give 60 rubles. V'gam omer sheyesh anashim kashim marim k'moy sheyesh. I don't know what that means. Huh? Did I skip a page here? I think he's talking about people who are against the Rebbe, there's punishments for them. A boiker, he put on his talis and tefillin. He davened with all his koyach, and he said slichus. Why slichus? Oh, sorry, b'tevis. Shas kriyas hatayra bacha. Achach lomad v'sim hashach hagadol. Amru loy shinad b'shulchan aruch katan. He learned in the Shulchan Aruch. Amru tehillim. They said tehillim. Achach amru l'Nachman ben Oizer. Shitin like kol tuv le'adamahu roitze. They said to give him kol tuv. He didn't know what he wanted. Reperishon tenli hatanach. Zeh kol tuv. Give me the Tanakh. This is all the good. Achach. And afterwards, Rav Noson says that if two men come to him, im kinor viratu, like with musical instruments and dance in front of him, this will lively him up. This will give him life. He said, I can't even drink anything, even tea. And after 2 hours, he said to his son Rabbi Yitzchak, Lech lebayez v'toili hakuchen, tafshel shel Shabbos, shel Shabbos daika, and he said, give me food of Shabbos. Tzia v'la'atzia shulchan al hakisei daika. And he wanted to be served like on a table, like normally on a chair. He sat on the box of candles. Even though I guess it was a fast, but he didn't have to fast, obviously. He was able to, he said, I'm allowed to bench on the bed here. And while he was benching, he said, okay. Then he sent after candles. They're all one inyan. Like we said before, afterwards said to Rav Nachman Tulchin on the pasuk L'chu Yosef Asher Yomer Lechem Tasu. The ikar is his kashrus to tzadikim. Commanded all the chassidim to go to the mikvah. They went to the mikvah. When they came from the mikvah, he was extremely weak from his sickness. And Maras Adol came to him. He said, Ma nasa tzechem gurua yoser. He said, what else could, what's, not really sure what she's asking him. Was this epis a ergen gevarin? Like, how bad is it? And he said, and Rav Noson was like, it's a big chesed, it's a big chesed. Achach loy domu loy diber imanu yoser. Rak shemanu shomer yivrecha. Birchas amapil b'chan amapil esleach. Chaz shabbos u'bar chata b'kodesh echad. V'inin haya be'erech shav v'chetzi. Right? Like an hour and a half after that, and then he died. Mamish b'neshika. Very smoothly and very peacefully. And there's no reason to go further in this letter. And there's so much to say over, but we can't write it all down. And we have to be mechazik with each other, to be Prince Svarim. And this is what Hashem wants. This is what He wants. And this is all the words that we have from the Chassidim in Breslov. And that is the end of Rav Noson's life. Oh, that was pretty wild, man. So, b'schus Rav Noson of Breslov, Friday, try to say L'kutei Tfilos and light a candle and all these different types of things. But yeah, I hope somebody watches this all the way through. And I will leave a link and a description for everybody here. And yeah, have a good day.